Hello artists, and welcome to day 112 of the epic journey. Today we're talking about linear study sketches. So in keeping with our theme at the moment, which is drawing in a linear fashion, we're just going to have a look at study sketches for a while. Now study sketches will be literally just a quick sketch that you would do to study a subject. It's something that you would do in your own time and in between projects to keep your skills honed, to keep your eye in there. It's an amazing exercise to do regularly to keep you focused and to keep you practiced at getting proportions right. That is the whole aim of doing study sketches, is literally just practice work. So with linear work, of course, your concentration is going to be on the contours of your subject. So you're going to be drawing the edges, the outlines, the dividing lines between areas, but your concentration is going to be on your linear work. Now the difference between what we did yesterday with the scribble sketches and what we're doing today is the scribble sketching was building up value just with lines that actually are not related to your subject. What we're doing today is contour lines which is related to your subject. So your lines are going to be descriptive of your subject. Now the secret of this kind of drawing is to draw quickly, to have a brief look at your proportions between, in this case for example I'm doing a portrait, so I just plot in basically the position of the eyes, the shape of the face, and maybe the position of the nose and mouth, but I'm not going into any great detail in my initial observation of the subject. And when I do start drawing, I'm concentrating on the lines, so I'm concentrating on the edges of the subject. And once the lines are in that are describing my subject, I'll go in and do a bit of tone work. But tone work is actually also just scribbling in the various different shades of light and dark in a very basic fashion. There's no real finesse in this work. That's not what it's intended to be. Like I said, it's just a study. So all you're really wanting to do here is to practice getting in the proportions of your subject and getting in the basic lights and darks of your subject. Now you'll see a little bit later on in the drawing I turn my pastel over onto the side and I start doing some big broad strokes to fill in all the dark areas, because again here this is not about detail, this is not about doing ultra fine work. This is about training your brain to see proportions mainly. It's quite important when you're doing this kind of study drawing that you don't allow yourself to get stuck on the details. So don't allow yourself to spend too much time doing it. What is actually a good idea is to maybe set a little alarm, maybe on your phone, set it for a couple of minutes, and then make sure that you get as much of that drawing done before that alarm goes off as possible. You want to almost speed up your drawing. Now I'll clarify, it's not about drawing fast. That is not the aim here, although speed drawing is really good for helping you learn to see proportions. But that's not the aim of the game. It's not about drawing quickly. It's about drawing proportions. And when you set yourself a little goal of a few minutes to do a drawing, you don't have time to get stuck on the tiny little details. Your eye is forced to keep looking at your subject in a very general fashion. The advantage of drawing this way is that because you're not stuck on the detail, your mind is concentrating entirely on the proportions of your subject in the first place. So that's where your practice is going to be in. Because you focus on the general look, the shape and the feel of your subject, and you don't allow yourself to get caught up in the details, you're giving your mind the opportunity to practice getting your proportions right, to practice getting your drawings overall layout correct. Now the more you do this, and the more you train your brain to see your proportions and to see them quickly, the better your fine drawing becomes. And in time, with lots of practice, you will eventually be able to sit down and do a drawing without really having to do too much in the way of grid work or measuring, like what we've done in the past in some of the Epic Journey tutorials, where we've had a look at gridding up a drawing to get your proportions right, or doing the measurement method to get your proportions right. Those are methods that you can use to get your proportions right straight away, because you've got these very strong aids that you can lean on. This, however, is a method that you would use to practice and practice and practice until over time you're able to sit down and draw a subject proportionately without the aid of grid lines or measuring. Now the best way to practice this is to practice from life. So each time you do it, you're doing something different. If you do the same drawing over and over again, then you're only going to be practicing that one drawing. And of course drawing from life is a lot more difficult in a lot of ways, because your subject doesn't necessarily stand still and your head moves from side to side. So it's probably the best way to actually learn to do this properly is to do it from life. It doesn't have to be portraiture like what I'm doing here. It could be your coffee mug, and often you'll hear me talk on the Epic Journey about drawing every day, and this is actually the kind of drawing that I'm talking about. This quick sort of speed drawing to train your brain to see your proportions correctly. This is the best, most reliable method that you can use. You must remember, however, that this is going to take some time to master. You're not going to sit down, particularly if you haven't done this before or if you haven't done it very often. This is not something that you sit down and in one afternoon you get it right. And I often have artists saying to me, oh, this makes me nervous and I feel like I can't draw. And that's exactly what it does to you. It makes you feel as if you're not a very accomplished artist, because this is something new and you're not relying on the aids that you're possibly used to relying on. Try not to fall into the trap of picking up a ruler and start measuring, or to do your sighting and all those other methods that we've talked about, because this is something that over time will give you that reliability of judging proportions just by looking at things. Now, when you see an artist that is able to sit down and do a sketch and it's right first time, you must know that that artist has spent hours and hours and hours over years doing this kind of drawing. So please don't think that this is an overnight success thing. If it's not something that you're used to, it is going to take you some time to feel accomplished, and you're going to go through sketchbook after sketchbook before you start feeling as if you're actually getting to a point where the subject that you're drawing looks like exactly what it is, or the proportions are exactly what they should be. And of course there's always room for improvement, so it's something that you may always feel that you need to keep practicing it, and even once you've got to a point where you can sit down and draw something and get your proportions right straight away, if you don't keep practicing it, you could actually become less accomplished at it. So this is something that you need to do regularly, whether you are capable of doing it right away or not. So artists, I'm going to stress it again: daily drawing, daily speed drawing, daily practicing at your craft is what is going to get you there. Thank you very much for joining me on day 112 of the epic journey. Please don't forget to like and share this video, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. That's what you want to do.